He heard the sounds of a distant fight as he read. Finally, he finished reading through the book, and he had been training himself this whole time, learning how to use different medical items. He knew he had to make some basic splints. He already knew how to make like cattail jelly and such, and he also knew how to make a basic bandage. While it was still light out, and he had been reading for a while, from the morning through until the afternoon. He smashed another door in, since he didn't have any keys, nor did he have anything to pick locks with. The next apartment over had a raincoat, an empty library shelf, found some marbles and an old straw doll in the trash can, a towel, quite a bit more food, beans, crackers, curry, some apple pie filling, and some red sauce, almost some tinned clam chowder, Italian seasoning, pickled meats, raw spaghetti, cooking oil. Another cupboard, cooking oil, cornbread, hard cheese, oatmeal. In the fridge, some fruit juice, crispy cranberry, an old irradiated lemon, root beer, and a sports drink. We found a bunch more stuff: soup, tuna, marshmallows, sauce, and some bleach. In the bathroom, he found a novel, and there was some water still in the toilet, some antiseptic, and a sponge. There's a pair of socks, an undershirt, and a pillow in one of the cupboards. In one of the drawers, a light jacket and some cargo shorts. Some more duct tape as well, which he grabbed. He began trying to break down the next door. After multiple attempts, he managed to get a hole open. After a few more attempts, broke down the door. The apartments were all seemed to be the same design, just with different stuff in them. He noticed inside one of the trash cans was a bag of heroin, a scroll that seemed smudged, and a heavy stick. He found some soy milk inside one of the fridge, and he realized that he was actually been kind of thirsty. Knowing that it was likely going to go bad, he drank some of it. In the cupboards, he found more dried foods, a hand-cranked charger for batteries, no doubt useful, raw macaroni, fast noodles, condensed milk, flour, more macaroni, some hydrogen peroxide, raviolis, and detergent. It reminded him of that headlamp that he had found off that one zombie. He grabbed the box of detergent, an idea forming in his mind. Inside another room, in the cupboard, was some marshmallows and Toastums. Continuing to explore, he found what seemed to be a little book called Glamapolitan regarding to cooking, a sewing kit, and some cotton balls. He grabbed the book and the sewing kit as well, figuring that they could come in handy. He found a couple jackets, or should I say, shorts and a windbreaker. Checking another cupboard, he found a lighter and a wristwatch. He put on the wristwatch, figuring that it could be handy, basketball shorts, and a few condoms. On the bookshelf was a single book, Bon Appetit, a cooking book, no doubt. Getting some thoughts on what to do, he went back to the corpse of the tough zombie and took off its head. And after thought, grabbed the fedora too, because why not? He went to one of the bathrooms where there's still some water, and he stopped for a moment as he realized that he was going to need something to clean them with. There was a sponge in the next room, in one of the rooms, but I couldn't remember where. He found it in one of the other bathrooms. Using the sponge, the water in the cleanser, he cleaned it. He put on the headlamp, but he didn't have any batteries, unfortunately. He did recall, though, that in here Wasn't sure where, though. There's a hand crank charger, likely in the next room. He's a bit confused. He could have sworn he had seen it earlier. Perhaps he had missed it? He found it in the other cupboard that he had thought wasn't there. He grabbed the charger and took out the battery. He then placed the battery inside his headlamp. Now with his headlamp equipped, he went to the next apartment, working on breaking down the door. He broke through, and moved carefully. He quickly confirmed that this apartment too was also clear. Checking one of the bookshelves, he found a clothing designer's portfolio, Sue Othman's monthly, copies of Sue What clothing, and more sewing. Obviously for creating clothing, but he did notice that one of the books, though, had recipes for crafting what he noticed chitinous gauntlets and armor made of chitin. Interesting. You would have to take a look at that one for sure. He grabbed a copy of it immediately. There's some cargo pants, and a jacket and a skirt, a novel of satire, some more bandages and a soap bar. Continued searching. Pesto and pickled meats, graham crackers and raw spaghetti, a cast iron frying pan, some dog food and detergent, a lemon and a pear. He drank some more soy milk, continued on his way. Checking his inventory and making sure he wasn't loaded down, he carefully opened one of the nearby metal doors. Then realized that actually this was the elevator, which was not working, obviously. In the eastern blow, he heard cerebros, cerebros, cerebros. This reminded him of something he had been briefed about. Something called BL9. He wasn't sure what it was. A few more blows on the door, but he realized his gladius had been damaged. He was not happy about that. He decided that perhaps it was best if he used something else. He remembered one of the trash cans carried a large, heavy stick. After a bit of searching, he found it. He went over to the door again, with a few blows, and he struck the door open, partially, and he noticed a creature inside called a nurse. It was clearly a zombified creature, but he noticed that instead of one of its forearms, this zombie had a muscular tube ending in a stinger that was moist with stringy slime. He didn't notice him, but it seemed the way its stance that it was focused on using just that one limb to fight. He broke the door down, and re-equipped his gladius, and dropped the stick on the floor. He quietly approached. He noticed there was another nurse in there. He stepped out of the room, taking a moment to catch his breath, ignoring the chant of cerebros. He stepped out again. He noticed the one nurse approached him, so he stepped around the corner and waited. The nurse got closer. He struck the nurse once, but he got stabbed in the process. The nurse's blow killed it, but he was bleeding. Grabbed one of his bandages. He promptly patched up his arm. Unfortunately, though, whatever was in that syringe, he was poisoned. He was not happy about this. He almost stepped into another nurse. This time, he got the better of it and took it down. He promptly smashed the corpses and checked them. One of them had an inhaler, which he grabbed, and the other one had a pair of scissors. Inside was a book that I read Batter Up. It's about baseball, obviously. I remembered some of his comrades talking about it before. Some of them even used the actual bats as weapons as well. More novels, a whole bunch of them. Blazer dressed in a hoodie, tank top, and a towel. His apartment was clear. Unfortunately, though, he was still well, the poison had worn off at this point. He was feeling a bit better now. There's some apple cider, butter, and some cranberry juice. Some more canned food, and some bags of dried lentils, and some more tinned food. Also some charcoal, good for cooking. More noodles, some marshmallows, black pepper, canned soups. A lot of good stuff, to say the least. A lot of good stuff. He smiled a bit in the thought that, at the very least, he didn't have to worry about going hungry. At least, not for a while. Found a big canvas sack, smelling faintly of earth and hard work. Brought back an old memory. The time that he used to work on a farm before joining the Legion. Grabbed the heavy stick on the floor, putting away his gladius again. Began working on the next door. And after several blows, or perhaps more, he broke down the door. Inside another fridge was a gallon jug of milk, which unfortunately he knew would go bad very quickly. Some Italian seasoning, some more macaroni and toastums, dust mask, some noodles and graham crackers there, some canned foods, cooking oil, and a pot on the stove. Another cupboard had more noodles and more soup, along with some pie filling. Checking the bathroom, book of outdoor adventures, and some more water in the toilet, and a gallon jug full of ammonia. Found a pea coat, a heavy wool coat, cumbersome, but he knew it would keep him warm. Even though right now he wasn't concerned about that, it was still spring after all. There's a broken console in the other room as well, and the other drawers were empty. Still, he was breathing a bit heavily, so he decided to wait for a bit. Then he heard another voice, chanting, "I have seen beyond the world of skin, the architecture of blood and bone marrow." He chose to ignore it. Checks the next room over, begins smashing the door in. Breaking through, he searched it. Another raincoat, a pair of rubber gloves, cheese spreads, bread sauce, toastums, pliers. Ooh, pliers. Grab those. Along with some dried rice and raw spaghetti pasta. He knew a lot of the stuff here would last for years. Some of the stuff in there, like the pasta, would last for years, so he wasn't worried about those going bad. Found some more canned salmon, found some hard cheese, more pasta and more toastums, and some grapes. He found a protein shake in one of the bottles as well. In the bathroom, a book of Crafty Crafter's Quarterly, and a drama novel. He grabbed the crafting book, found some cough syrup, some detergent. Looking in the closet, he found a blazer, a sweatshirt in one of the drawers, in the cupboard, some ankle socks. Well, not cupboard, more like a wardrobe. And the other drawers had a light jacket and a towel. You could tell that this floor was pretty much finished. He pondered for a bit, wondering what to do next. A thought came to mind. He grabbed one of the nails. And thinking back on what he could remember with some of his training in regards to crafting items, some tools came to mind. More specifically, a screwdriver. He needed some scrap metal or a couple chunks of steel. He had a hammer, which was more than enough, which would help him with making it. And he had the duct tape. He had the planks he needed, or a heavy stick. He was going to need a chunk of steel. You would need a couple chunks of steel, or even just some scrap metal. Look at one of the mailboxes. He broke it down. There was some scrap metal there. Perfect. Using the scrap metal and one of the planks, and ignoring the cries of Matalo, he made himself a screwdriver. He made himself a lockpick as well. In fact, as a matter of fact, he said he'd make a batch of them. 5 of them to be more specific. It took him about 5 minutes, but soon he had them in his hand. At first he thought he would use the lockpicks, but then he realized he had his hammer, and this whole time he could have just used it to pry the door open. He berated himself for that, and explored the rest of the place. Knit hat, candle, more canned food and dried food, more canned food, some hardtack. No doubt will be useful. Dead flare, a talking doll. Some cranberry juice, a microwave burrito, and a mushroom. Some beans, noodles, a lot of canned food around in this place, which he was happy about. Another dust mask, some spam. Already looked at the trash bin. Another novel. Some chewing gum that was caffeinated. Some bleach. Some shorts. Windbreaker. Wardrobe held a wool poncho and a down-filled pillow. And then the peacoat. Now he knew the room had been fully explored. At the very least, now he had a proper functioning door, and he could in a room that he could safely stay in, at least for the time being. It was 5 p.m. It was getting long in the afternoon. He knew it would be night soon. He wasn't sure if he'd be able to fall asleep though. He didn't really feel tired. Standing by the window, he looked through some of his books before finally settling on one of the sewing books. A quick read through though, he had trouble understanding it. He was going to need something that would be more suited for what he knew. He went up to one of the apartments he broke in, and checking it, he found another book of sewing. He grabbed it, and looking at the other ones, he decided to grab those too. The one about the portfolio, and Sue Awesome Monthlies. He figured he would get some reading in while he could. He read the book about baseball for a little bit, ignoring the cries he could hear from below. Then he dropped the batter up and the first aid. He didn't really need those anymore. He decided to read So Awesome Monthly first. Ignoring the cries of "I have tasted the blood of fallen angels," he began to read more. He heard another cry, this one slightly more interesting. "It's all coming together. The prophecy, Novulion, will feast on your blood." He ignored it again and continued reading. Another thing about the world of skin. Continued to read. Matalo. He ignored it again. Something about the blood of fallen angels. And something about a trespasser. He ignored it, but he did keep an ear open. Hopefully nothing would come up to attack him at the very least. Ignoring the further cries, he kept reading. Admittedly, though, he was starting to get tired of this. Finally, he decided to just stop. The noises were bothering him quite a bit. He decided that perhaps he could go ahead and try to deal with it. He grabbed and wielded his gladius, and stepped down the stairs.